I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John, they're the ones to follow. Get ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
It is the BJ Show. I am Brad. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. I spell that because you need to type that into your computer, smartphone, tablet, whatever you use. C-O-M-B-E-S-T, J-O-H-N, put on the beginning, johncombest.com, because he's the guy. And there's no other guy like you, is there, John? You're unique.
Boy, I think they broke the mold, Brad, for better or for worse.
And thank God for that. He's the guy that every single day for 23 years, no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing, no matter what holiday it is, it could be Yom Kippur, it could be Christmas Day, it could be Thanksgiving Day, it could be Martin Luther King Day. John is at his computer compiling a list of all the important stuff you need to know on the internet as far as the state of Missouri is concerned. We bring it down to 3. We bring this guy in by the name of... Hold on a minute. I got this new setup, and I keep forgetting to do this. We'd bring this guy in by the name of...
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what does he do?
We're on our way to the number one.
And we start off with...
In third place.
After much discussion about what the political future held, we are happy to report, Brad, via the St. Louis Post-Dispatch's Kurt Erickson, that Ashcroft will be back at the Capitol. Did you see this news, Brad?
I did not.
Yeah, so... Apparently, as Brad makes up for yesterday's incident in which he could not consume his Little Debbies and consumes them now, we have brand new news, Brad. David Wasinger, incoming lieutenant governor, has hired for his chief of staff, Ashcroft, Brad. Can you believe it?
Really? Did he do that? So he's going to be like an underling now? He's not going to be like a head dude?
Whoa, Brad. Assuming gender much? Misogynist and sexist much? Lieutenant Governor David Wasinger's new chief of staff is Katie Ashcroft. Gotcha, Brad. It is not Jaybird Ashcroft. No. But Katie Ashcroft will be serving as Lieutenant Governor David Wasinger's chief of staff. Did I yank your chain on that one, Brad?
Is that his wife?
Yeah, yes, it absolutely is. And, Brad, you can find her picture by clicking on the paywall-free version that I have linked on my website today.
Did you say his middle name is Bird?
No, Jaybird. Like anytime I've had a friend named Jay,
yeah?
I've called him Jaybird.
Oh, okay,
or naked as a Jaybird.
Okay.
But I mean, with the current Secretary of State, I wouldn't refer to Jay Ashcroft in any sort of nudity terms, right?
Little middle names can be very interesting. You know what my brother's middle name is?
Helicopter.
Winner. W-I-N-N-E-R.
You're joking.
No, I'm not. Serious, that's his name, W-I-N-N-E-R, because that was his maternal grandmother's and grandfather's name, Winner, W-I-N-N-E-R. That was their last name, so they named him Lance Winner Hildebrand.
Wow, fantastic. And that's why you are Brad L. Hildebrand.
Yeah, I'm Brad Loser Hildebrand. Exactly right. You're right. Very good, John.
But I think this is an intriguing story because Katie Ashcroft has worked in the private sector before. She's an attorney. She's one of these people that has like multiple degrees from different universities, et cetera. So a very learned woman, and she'll be leading. She'll be running the show under the administration of Lieutenant Governor David Wasinger. I think that's awesome.
I'm sorry, I'm still eating my Little Debbies.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Brad. Okay. Well, if you want to press a button, I think that wraps it up for story number 3 today, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
Well, I'll tell you who's not happy about the fact there's a lieutenant governor named David Wasinger, and it's the Green Party of Missouri, Brad. You know, back in your heyday, there was a song by Hall & Oates that went like this. So close, yet so far away. The Green Party, Brad, to stay on the Missouri ballot so that they wouldn't have to go out and collect thousands and thousands of signatures next year. All they needed was one of their candidates to get 2% in a statewide vote. And the woman running for lieutenant governor got 1.995 5%. Boy, is that infuriating or what, Brad?
So they can't just round it up?
No, absolutely not. This isn't like, what do you think the people from Amendment 2 would say? They would say, oh, come on, just round it up by 400 votes. No, the woman named Danielle Elliott, and she was on the ballot for the Green Party for lieutenant governor. She got 0.005% short. Now the Green Party has to go out and gather signatures. They're going to need 10,000 valid signatures to get on the ballot in 2026. Now, here's my favorite quote about this. Here's how inspirational she is to other people that want to run as an independent, Brad. Here's her quote. It feels very defeating, like pointless to run in Missouri almost. I don't want to be negative because I had 57,000 people vote for me, which is amazing, and I'm so grateful. But at the same time, there were a lot more people who voted for someone with no experience. And that would be referring to Dave Wasinger, because Dave Wasinger won, and he had never been elected to office before. So, she seems a little bit angry, and I'm sure she's still probably in the anger phase. But, Brad, so close for the Green Party in Missouri, but they're going to have to just go out and gather signatures again for 2026.
John, when you really look at it, the Dems and the Repubs have really put so many different walls and obstacles and make it so tough for anybody to compete against the Republicans and the Democrats. They are like the cartel, even though they don't like each other. See, I give this example all the time. You watch two attorneys go at it in court, and they're yelling and screaming at each other.
Say the name of the restaurant, Brad. Say it.
C.J. Muggs. They show up at C.J. Muggs after the trial, and they're backslapping. Boy, you did a great. When you objected to my evidence, oh boy, that was great. Oh yeah, but when you objected to my testimony, that was great as well too. Aren't we two great attorneys? That's the way the Republicans and the Democrats are. It's like WWII. You see these two guys smacking down in the ring, and 2 o'clock in the morning, they're both sitting at Denny's having a good yuck. You know what I'm saying?
I don't follow wrestling because I'm not a child, Brad. And I certainly know that the former corporate leader of the WWE wouldn't be appointed as a cabinet secretary. I also know that someone going into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame wouldn't get in a public dispute with the St. Louis mayor's spokesman during work hours. But what I do know is, to your point, there's a quote from this piece. And by the way, I should point out it was brought to us by KBIA, which is an NPR affiliate in Columbia. A quote from a WashU legal professor, Brad, says, "The legal structures that entrench the major parties have been durable." So, Brad, you don't just need to be Brad Hildebrand to know that. You could also be a WashU law professor to tell us something very profound, which is that major parties don't want competition.
So what was his quote again?
The legal structures that entrench the major parties have been durable. Now, that's a nice academic. Boy, when you combine NPR and an academic, that's what you get, right? The guy's name is Majarian, and he's from WashU. There was also a guy on Jackass named Najarian, but I don't think it's the same guy.
My favorite is the guy from Jefferson City, and you corrected me. What was it? Nimrod Castle?
Nimrod Chappell. Yeah, Rod Chappell.
Nimrod Chappell. So they call him Rod Chappell?
No, I call him Dave because he's my favorite Black Chappelle.
No, you don't.
I only have room in my life for one favorite Black Chappelle, and it's Dave.
Okay.
Now, my favorite Chappelle overall is Chappell Roan, but she pronounces it a little different because she's a queer, They can do whatever they want. Brad, you know who's not a queer? Josh Hawley, and he's in story number 1 today.
Are you sure? We saw him with tight pants.
Well, I don't know. We know what kind of jeans he wears.
That's tight jeans and the. That's so funny. When we met him that time, Shelley says he's got tight jeans and pirate shoes on. I'll never forget that.
And what Josh didn't know is that Shelley has a pirate fetish, which made it really dangerous for the time for Josh.
Yeah, she went up to him and she whispered in Josh's ear, "Shiver my timbers."
The number one.
It might be coming, Brad. World War III. Apocalyptic, you say? Well, Josh Hawley was on Fox News. He was on with Laura Ingraham, and he was talking about the fact that if Joe Biden continues to act recklessly as it relates to Ukraine and Russia, and firing U.S.-made munitions from Ukraine into Russia, we could be heading, Brad. Let's not be hyperbolic, but we could be heading to World War III. So there was a little exchange between Laura Ingraham and Josh Hawley, because Laura Ingram's theory is, is it possible that Joe Biden is just kind of laying out some landmines in the last few weeks of his presidency that Donald Trump is going to have to trip over? And Hawley didn't seem to believe that Biden was doing this intentionally to hurt Donald Trump, but he did call it reckless, and he did say that it was unbelievably reckless and irresponsible as it relates to what's going on over there, Brad.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about this whole deal is, that you've got Russia that invades Ukraine, okay? And for the most part, up until recently, Ukraine has never, ever, ever struck anything on Russian territory. Now, once again, think about this for a minute. Let's go back to World War II. Do you know the famous part of World War II that made the Japanese really start to second guess themselves after they bombed Pearl Harbor?
No, I don't.
What is it? Is it Lieutenant Colonel Dooley? What they did was, it's actually a very famous part of World War II where, once again, the Japs attacked us on December 7th, 1941. And in the beginning part of the war, we were not doing well, and things were not looking well in the early part of 1942. And there was a raid that was essentially put together where they flew, I think, B-25 Mitchells, which were not aircraft carrier-based bombers. They were not designed to fly off aircraft carriers, especially after the aircraft carriers of those days, which were not all that big, the ones we have nowadays. So essentially what they did was they got a group of pilots and was headed by, I think it was, at the time he was like Captain Dooley. I have to look this up. And they essentially got close to Japan, and they got close enough to Japan where they were going to, when they're keep trying to get closer to Japan, where they would be able to send the B-25 Mitchells off the aircraft carrier. I think it was the Hornet. And they were going to attack Japan's mainland because Japan, the government had told the citizens of Japan that they would never be attacked by the air by the United States because they didn't have the range. So what happened was the aircraft carrier was getting close to the country of Japan, and they weren't quite close enough yet where the planes could make a strike and then come back to the aircraft carrier. And they were spotted by a Japanese reconnaissance plane. So the Americans decided, okay, we've got to launch. So essentially it turned into a suicide mission where all these pilots came and they bombed Japan. And all of the pilots ended up either crash landing, somewhere, or landing in Russia or in China. And it turned the war around because the Japanese people were like, okay, we were told that we were never going to be harmed. And I think that's sort of the same thing that Putin has said. He essentially said, don't worry about it. We're going to attack Ukraine and they can't attack us. But once again, how do you demoralize the attacker? You essentially kick them right back in the groin where they're kicking you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly what you're saying, Brad.
Did you like my history lesson?
Yeah, it was. We usually have to wait until B or C block to get a dissertation, but we went through the top three so quickly that we were able to get it in.
But you know what? I agree with Josh Hawley on this. To a certain extent, it's like, let's be honest. Good old Mr. Biden is sitting in the office going like, okay, they played with me. They screwed me out of this deal. I probably could have won, So my first thing to get back at these Dem people like Nancy Pelosi, I put in Kamala Harris. She lost.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to mess things up for Trump by essentially, we told you, Mr. Ukraine, you couldn't use all those long-range missiles to attack Russia. Go ahead and do it. I think the best quote from Hawley, though, sorry to interrupt, I think the best quote from Hawley on Ingram's show was he said, and let's not forget, this is a guy who the Democrats decided couldn't be trusted, didn't have the capability to run a presidential campaign. You've brought this up before, Brad, and your thesis that Biden should actually make Kamala Harris the first woman president. If you're not competent enough to be out on a campaign trail and you can't make sense at a podium,
Why are you making decisions on foreign policy?
I see, once again, the bizarre thing was with the G20, the fallout from the G20. You know all the crazy, weird stuff that happened at the G20?
No, I don't know.
You don't know about all this weird stuff that happened?
I don't know about it. You should tell us about it in a later block.
It was just weird. I mean, he walks off into the jungle, then...
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Which is terrific.
Which is like, okay. And then the interesting part of this is the snub to Biden is, and once again, we got all this crazy, weird, theatrical things they do with politics and government leaders. She gets off his plane from China, and they roll out the red carpet. No red carpet for Biden. He doesn't get a red carpet. And normally, when they take these pictures of all the leaders of the nations, when they get together for these groups, they have like the American president usually in the middle. Now, think about this for a minute. Do you think for 1 minute that if there's a picture of the 20 leaders of these countries all over the globe, that if soon-to-be President Trump was there, do you think he would be in the back row on the right side? Or do you
Absolutely not. He would be front and center where America deserves. It's not about Donald Trump, it's about America.
So look at that picture. I'll see if I can find the picture and send it to you. Look at that picture and tell me it's just bizarre. And I say once again, there was an interesting thing I read just last night about a guy who's saying that America is still not ready for a female president. I don't think that's the case. I think if we had a qualified female and one who didn't, couldn't answer questions and said weird stuff and stuff like that. I once again, I think if there was a qualified woman that she would have beat Trump. I really do. I think
that Brad, let's go back to 2016. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote.
Yes.
So the notion that America is not ready for a woman president or a president of color is just ridiculous.
Well, but why do we keep saying this thing, not ready for president of color? We had Barack Obama for 8 years.
Brad, because it's a way for the other side, if we can call them the other side, to suggest that anybody who voted for Trump is a misogynist and a racist. So you say, well, just America's not ready. Instead of saying it has anything to do with Kamala's personality or policies, you're just able to besmirch the other side.
I think that everybody should take a cue from Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough and essentially say, you know what? We've been thinking about this for 9 years. We've been calling you all these terrible names. We really think you're a great guy, and we want you to come on our show because our ratings are not doing well, and they're talking about selling MSNBC, and we may be end up working at the Weather Channel together, and we don't necessarily want to do that. Can you please be our friend, Mr. Trump? Please, 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 please. That's what everybody needs to do, don't you think?
It's two sides coming together. It reminds me of an important lunch meeting that happened yesterday where two people from different radio stations got together. And one of them is running for St. Charles County Executive, and the other one is a big fan of Bill Eigel. And I'm not going to tell you which is which. I'm not saying Brad's running for county exec and a guy named Mike isn't, but I'm just saying people that work for different competing interests can get together, Brad, in a spirit of unity, right?
Do you want me to tell you what happened at the lunch yesterday?
Oh, you had a lunch yesterday? Oh, we didn't start a certain block yesterday, and you wouldn't say who it was, but I sussed it out, right? No, Brad, I have no idea. You had a lunch yesterday?
John.
I did very well. I don't mean to brag. I don't read my resume. But early in elementary school, I was good at context clues. Now, as the years went on and I inhaled a lot of, rubber cement, my brain cells died. But, Brad, I used to be really good at context clues.
John, once again, it wasn't who we're going to talk about in the next break. But just yesterday, someone who listens to the show, I had it again say to me, do you get along with John?
And you said, no, he's a jerk and I hate him.
Are you two like really friends or are you like enemies? He's always making fun of you. He's saying things about you all the time and you just sort of laugh it off. And I go like, hey, it's fun. Once again, I bring up my Randy Bluestone thing. The better you are friends with someone, the more S you can give them. Okay? Let's just put it that way. Okay. We have to take a break and we'll be back with the lunch that I didn't have yesterday, but I did, but we'll talk about it coming up next.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?